So the idea is I sold online about 30 million bucks and counting. And I generated about 7 million leads and counting. I spent $3.5 million in AdWords, PPC, and whatever, and I'm not venture backed, so this was my partner's money and my money, so it needed to come back. So it's not that I have money from 500 startups or somewhere that I can burn and it's okay because it's a... Come back. Yeah, yeah, I know. But you know, you have another risk profile. In my case, it actually needed to come back because I have 2 kids and I need to buy diapers. So if it didn't come back, it would be horrible. So I've sold stuff between my own products and customer products in 40 plus industries. I'm 34 years old. I have 2 kids, 1 wife, and 200 of cholesterol, and my doctor says I need to drop 10 kilograms, but that's fine. So that's an intro on who I am. Things I sold, I basically come from the information marketing background, so we will sell courses on law of attraction, meditation, numerology, yoga, that type of thing. So it's mostly a training education company. And I sold things, again, from, you know, weird things like remote viewing stuff and prosperity blueprint and the science of getting rich and all these new agey type of thing in a company called Mind Valley in Malaysia. I was their 10th employee. When I got there, they were at about whatever. Oh, this is going in record, so I'll tell you later. But we went from, you know, sub 7 figures to 7 to 8 figures in revenue in 8 months, just applying these principles of direct response marketing. Basically, if you get to a point where you can spend $1 and you get more than $1 back, how many dollars do you want to spend? As much as you can, right? So if you figure out that equation, you can scale very quickly, especially today with the online tools and online advertising we can do. So that's the main thing. So then I founded Mind Valley Hispano. We started selling this type of stuff in the Spanish market. And then I sold hardwood charcoal on the internet, tennis balls, tennis rackets, help clients sell sysadmin services. That's actually hard to sell to developers, or actually to sell to developers it's hard. But if you are selling sysadmin services, it's also harder. They need to give you access to their servers, blah, blah, blah. I sold landing page software and vacation trips, packages. And then in my last trip to Malaysia, where we ran Cerebro, which was kind of one of the first experiments to distro dojo, I sold expensive villas in Bali, gold bars on the internet in Indonesia, gold rings, credit card leads, and bus tickets. So when I was in Malaysia running that program for 500 startups, we were like, I was selling like 50 cents bus tickets and 40,000 US dollars gold bars. So it was very interesting to have that range of price points in the same batch as companies. So I'm going to, before I do this, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro of what we're going to learn about this week. So let me go here. Oops. Well, there we go. So this is session 1. We will talk a little bit about the intro and expectations for this program. So we're going to talk about growth. And for me, growth is composed of a lot of things, not actually growth marketing. Because when you need to grow a company, it's not only that you need to figure out what marketing tactics will grow that company. You need to have a growth mindset in terms of what team members you hire, how much you spend. There's people that they figure out the marketing tactic, but they are afraid to spend the money and push the gas pedal so the company starts skyrocketing. So that comes a little bit with your mindset. So there's a lot of people that they have the money to spend. They have the metrics and the unit economics that support that spending, but you say, okay, go, spend 10 grand this month in PPC, or 20 grand, or 50 grand. And they don't do it. And that comes with your mindset. And you will see me talking a lot about numbers. And it's not about bragging when you talk about numbers. We cannot do our job if we don't know the numbers. So we will talk about that. We will talk about growth economics. Sometimes you have a company that's profitable. It's just small. And when you go and say, okay, I want to scale my advertising, I want to be bigger, you need some other growth economics. So you may have your break-even point when you spend $1. Maybe you get the dollar back in 30 days or 60 days. In your case, that it's a B2B sale, you need to talk to a CTO. The sales cycle could be a little bit longer. Then maybe your break-even point is at 6 months, and that's not bad. It's just your growth economics are different from an e-commerce shop that maybe they need to break even in the first transaction. When I was looking at you, I'm a Singularity University graduate. If you are into that type of stuff, I like it. I did the executive program, so basically the one that you pay your way through to get in. You don't need to be smart. So it's like, I did that one. So we will talk about growth teams, how you structure a team, how you run a growth team, because you cannot do it all on your own. And then we'll talk about growth speed. Like, you cannot, I always use this example of when I was a little kid, I loved to play chess. And I used to have a Kasparov simulator. It was one of the first chess programs. And you can pause the program, rearrange the pieces, and then unpause it, and you will beat the machine. If not, I wasn't able to beat Kasparov in the machine. And that's called cheating, right? But when you're doing that in a free market, you can actually move twice as fast as your competitors, and that's not cheating. So if we figure out a way that you can do twice as many experiments every single week, and your competitors are not doing them, you will beat them. Even you can afford to be half as smart and still beat your competitor because you're learning twice as fast. So speed has a lot to do with this. And then we will talk about growth tools and technicalities, which is, do you have your analytics set up properly? And are you tracking the URLs with UTM source and all that thing? And do you have the conversion pixel passing the value? Those things are boring, but they're actually useful, and we need to do it. And then we will talk about growth tactics, and that there are not magic bullets in general, but there are a couple of things that we know work. So that's kind of another focus of us, saying like, hey, these are the things that we've seen working in many industries. You should try them out. So what are the goals of this program? Well, I want you to leave this program with having a concrete understanding of the success factors of an online business. I want you to have knowledge of effective funnel generation, and also, knowledge of traffic generation on the main channels. We won't cover, at least in the first week, we won't cover every single marketing channel, but I want to make sure you get Google AdWords and Facebook and Taboola and Bing and Yahoo and email marketing and referral and that type of thing. So we will also talk about copywriting, branding, and digital persuasion. Most of you guys will be acquiring leads online, and maybe you will close them online or you will close them on a phone call. The reality is you will need to be selling. And there's nothing wrong to be a sales guy that picks up the phone or to have a web page that says you need to buy now and give me money. And there are ways to do that, and we will talk about that. So we will talk about measuring tools and data and metrics analysis. And this is one of my favorite, which is time and psychology management for entrepreneurs. The reality is you're also an entrepreneur, and you will go through ups and downs. And when you're growing a company, if you're not self-aware that sometimes you're going to have a bad day and feel depressed and you don't want to go out of bed, If you don't know that, then you will be not as effective as growing your company, in growing your company, as if you knew that. If you are not a good team manager, you won't be as effective. So, and then we will talk a lot about team outsourcing and management best practices. My company, we are 20 people. They all work from home, and I'm kind of in love with this model of infinite team scalability, hiring people, not for the cheap, but sometimes you can hire people for the cheap. And also you can, scale your company and bring it back to a normal size very quickly if you master these tools. And then in a very concrete way, I expect you after these 10 weeks that you end up with well-structured AdWords accounts, Facebook advertising properly set up, a marketing automation game plan that works, tracking in place. That's the concrete thing. You will learn a lot this week. I will be running 1 or 2 sessions every single day. But after this week, I'm gone, and you actually will be doing double click in all the things we cover this week. So I will talk about AdWords and Facebook and things like that, and we will try to set up some campaigns in the office hours or whatever. But then an AdWords or a Facebook expert will come here and will help you go deep into that. Okay? So how we're going to do all these things? The idea is, first, it should be very interactive. So feel free to stop me and say, Juan, I didn't understand that. How would you apply this to my company? It should be interactive. If I'm doing most of the talking, something is going wrong. You should be asking questions. It's fine. And again, this is not a 9-to-5 job. So if I don't respect the timetable, I don't care. Like I will go and say, okay, let's go over for an hour, but I'll answer that question properly. Okay? Then this is something that is very important. You will be here for 10 weeks all together in Miami. You will go grab drinks and whatever. And you will be, after this program finishes, you will be friends with each other. Or maybe enemies, I don't care. But you will have a relationship with each other. The important thing, though, is we cannot do our work if we don't share the numbers with the mentors, or sometimes with a fellow entrepreneur or a fellow company that is there, they can say, hey, I'm trying Facebook advertising, look at how it's working for me. And you sometimes ask to entrepreneurs, how is that working? And they say, oh, I'm killing it on Facebook. What do you mean? It's working very well. My conversion rate is high. That means nothing. Right? Because high for you is, maybe it's low for me or whatever. So we need to be comfortable speaking about numbers. How much money are we pulling in? How much are we paying per lead? Blah, blah, blah. And so I want us to promise here that everything we talk here is confidential. Even if it is in a bar, right? With somebody at the party, you shouldn't reveal other people's numbers to anyone that wasn't part of that conversation. Can we make that promise? Yeah? Okay? I want everybody to feel safe and that they can share their numbers, and I'm not going to set up a competitor or go and tell the numbers to a company that is competing with any of you guys. I make that promise, but with you guys also, please don't share the numbers. Okay? Cool? Awesome. So this is a workshop in general. We can name it Distro Dojo or whatever. And workshop, if you listen to the word, it has work on it, right? So the idea is we will be doing some talks and we'll try to make it funny and whatever, but it has work on it. You will be learning a shed load of amazing content, I think, not from me, but from the other mentors. But it will be an amazing thing. But if you don't apply it, if you don't work, it's just mental masturbation. It's like, oh, this is good, I learned. So what you need to do is just, okay, I learned this thing, I'm going to apply this thing on my business. So some of the exercise I'm going to do here during this week, it will be against the clock. and it will be a little bit of emulating real life. So I will say, come up with a headline. In how much time am I going to give you? 5 minutes. Why? Because if I gave you an afternoon, you will spend the afternoon. And basically, if I give you, or if I gave you, let's say, 5 minutes, you also will, your left brain will shut down because you cannot be so logical. You just need to flow with whatever comes out. And sometimes for people that are not marketers, it's a lot better that they say, write this headline for this landing page in 1 minute, and that's it, because if not, you will overthink it, and you will never get that landing page done. So, as you can see from the first minutes, I'll try to make it fun, and we'll try to do jokes and laugh, but for me, the most important thing is that your company's growth. If we don't get your companies growing, then that's a problem. So sometimes you will, especially in the office hours, you will see that I could be a little bit harsh, but it's important that, you know, I'm focused on growth, not on, like I want to be friends and all, but before that, I want your company growing. If we become friends in the process, it's a lot better. And some things that you will learn here might not directly suit you in terms of, oh, that's not my business model. But instead of thinking, oh, I will shut down my brain and then do email or tweet, why don't you go and say, how can I apply this thing that doesn't apply to my business still to my business? And that will happen with a lot of things that you go, we have B2B guys and B2C, and sometimes you will think that it's not a very similar world, but it actually is. You're both selling to people. As some people say, oh no, I sell to companies. What do you mean you sell to companies? I never seen a company sign a check, right? A person signs a check. So try to understand the psychology of that, because it's very important, especially to B2B folks. And I didn't go through all my CV, but I had a long career selling to businesses and to governments, which is a lot more difficult than to selling to a business. You will see a lot of non-original slides. None of these things that I'm teaching I came up with. You know, I probably learned it from someone else or from experience or from my customers or whatever, and I have zero. I'm not embarrassed to say I'm not original at all, but I'm good at putting things together and just teaching them. And then we will go in the whole week from strategic to tactic. So maybe the first few days you will find it, you know, a little bit kind of theoretical, but after you find out how things work, then we will land them and be very tactical and very action-oriented. So about the lectures, most of the lectures that I will give you, it will be like an intro of an hour and a half, 45 minutes to the topic. I don't expect you or me to teach you like AdWords pay-per-click in 45 minutes. It's impossible to learn, but I can give you the basics and to point you to the right direction and where to double click so you can learn a little bit more if you want. So what should you expect from this workshop? What happens after this week normally is like your head will go like, oh, there are so many things I'm not doing. Your head is exploding and you will feel confused after this week. So if you're asked on Friday, you will say, and I run this probably like 5-6 times already, so I know what happens. Interesting, lots of information. It was actually intense. So what I'm going to do during this week is actually build the drawers in your brain so you can feed the information all the mentors are going to give you. Okay? So the program for this week will be something like this, and again, this depends on the companies and they might change, but we will have this session that we're having now. We will talk about business model, Lean Canvas. This is very theoretical, so I will hand you the sheets to think. It's not very interesting, and I will group these sessions in the next session, these 2 or 3. But then we will talk about copywriting. You can do everything right in your marketing, but if your ad says, hello stupid, buy from me, no one is going to buy from you. It doesn't matter your landing page goes beautiful, blah, blah, blah. If the words are not there, it's very hard to persuade anyone. So we will talk about that. Then we will talk about how to get traffic to start getting traction and start getting learning. Then we will talk about being data-driven and what does that mean. And in this session 8, I will actually help you set up Google Analytics or think about Google Analytics or whatever analytics tool you're using. Then we will go through a framework I use every time I work with clients to double their results. And it's actually a mathematical principle. I just pick 4 different leverage points and I try to boost them by 20%. And if you do that, then you get to double the business. So it gives you a lot of certainty in a world where you're not certain of anything. But I know if I get 20% more traffic and I get 20% more conversions in the landing page and I get 20% more of a boost on price point and I get 20% more upsell rate, I know that those compound, and if I get that, I double the business. So that I'm certain because it's numbers. So it's a matter of I can get that math to work. So I will teach you about that framework. Then in session 10, we will talk about B2B deals and how to do B2B. And a lot of companies that are B2C, they check out there and they say, you know what, I run an e-commerce store, I don't need to do this. Well, you do need to buy merchandise for your e-commerce store, and that's a B2B deal, right? So I will show you how to reach important people in organizations and how to start at the top when you're making the sale. Especially for complex sales, this is very important. And it's already figured out. Like there's a playbook that works, and when you look at companies that scaled, they use that playbook. And it's not my invention. You can put it a little bit of, be a little bit more creative over that framework, but that framework is already figured out. And then we will talk about how to scale. And then in session 12, it will be Thursday or Friday, we'll talk about you as an entrepreneur. What happens, when you go up and down, and what happens, how you take care of yourself in terms of to have the mental energy to drive the company forward. Then we will talk about your team. And then we'll talk about outsourcing and other operational tricks. And we'll get you working over the next 9 weeks in whatever you learn here. So the resources, important thing about taking notes, you can take notes, but everything, at least that I present, will be available to you, so don't go like, I need to write down this link. I will recommend you to have a Eureka sheet that is just a sheet for a good idea that you heard, just write it down. But have it separate from your notes. It's more like something like, whoa, if I start doing this, I think my company can change a lot. Just have a sheet especially for that. And then most of the presentations will be on a mind map format, and you will get the links and whatever. So, questions, comments, anything about this? No? Can we start with the first session? Okay, good. There we go. And of course, I come from Argentina, I speak Spanish. If you have any problem with my accent in English, I can repeat myself. But so far so good, the guys that speak English can understand? Okay. If I were to teach everything that I want to tell you guys in this week in only 4 slides, it will go something like this. So your goal is to make this true. Basically, when we look at businesses, every business, what allows me to work with companies in 40 different industries and sell all this shit is that when I see a business, I see the same structure everywhere. And that structure is, the goal of a business is this: to turn impressions, publicity, someone speaking about me into dollars and hopefully a happy customer, right? Because without these ones, this one won't last that long, right? So a lot of people say, I don't know if that's true. So I ask the question, can anyone give you money if they doesn't know you? No? No, impossible. So the first goal of your company is to actually get the word out and get people to know you. And a lot of people say, well, but I don't do advertising. Advertising is for losers and blah, blah, blah. There's that current. I hope if you're in 500 startups, you don't think that way, because you will have a cultural clash with a lot of mentors. But, you know, the reality is, it doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if your form of advertising is the sign on the street. It doesn't matter if your form of advertising is referrals or happy customers telling somebody about your company. It doesn't matter if it is a hot chick giving flyers on the street. That doesn't matter. You need to get your word out, right? And you want to get money. So, and it doesn't matter what your company do. You will spend a little bit of money or time or resources getting your word out, and then you will spend money providing your services. So the basic equation of any single business on earth is, if the amount of money you spend on marketing plus the amount of money you spend delivering your product or service is less than the amount of money your customers pay you, then you have a profitable business. Can anyone find an example of a business that doesn't work this way? Okay, you're all sane people and smart guys. When I do that and someone raises a hand, I go, oh shit. But yeah, basically every business works that way. And you know, to do this, actually it's very similar, because you're going to do Facebook advertising, AdWords advertising, email marketing, whatever. This we know. This you're an expert on, so we just need to mix the things together. Make sense? Okay, so that's the first slide. So when I come to this event, I say, okay, how are you selling? So some of the guys, actually this is very bold. Some of the guys, they have a homepage. and they go like, but no one comes to my homepage. But imagine if you're here, I hope you have some traction, you have actually a good product. So normally, the way it works is you have a guy, that it could be your prospect or guy, you have a Google AdWords campaign or something like that when they search facial recognition software or something, they go to your website, hopefully not to your homepage. You have a landing page for the campaign, and then if you're lucky, they give you money. So that's kind of the normal funnel that I encounter when I come to places like this. When you look at an Airbnb, an eBay, and all those guys, the thing looks a little bit more like this, right? And then you wonder why you cannot afford to pay that much money. Well, because you're not doing any work. You're just getting people that want to buy. So when they go and say, buy this thing online, of course you're going to convert at 5%, 10%, or whatever. But when you need to go big, then you need to start doing distribution in channels that may be not that good economically, and you need to be prepared for that. So the goal is that we will print this, and you will need to build some sort of something like this. This is for consumer marketing, and this is for B2B. It doesn't matter. This playbook is for everybody. There are not that many more ways to build an advertising funnel that works and works at scale than these two. Because you just need to figure out creatively how you're going to apply all the advertising tools, email marketing, chat system, whatever you're going to do. So our goal is to turn these into something like this by the end of this program.